Welcome to another exciting episode of Communication Corner with me, your host, Gail Lewis. So, who here has ever had an obstacle put in their way on the road of life? If you're like me, you've had 1, 2, maybe 10. Well, tonight on Communication Corner, we're going to meet someone who overcame a tremendous obstacle. Because, as she tells us, it's not the obstacles that life puts in your way, but how you overcome them and how you come out the other side. That's important. And in her case, our author who's on Communication Corner tonight, she came out bold. And she is Marie Dunn. Hi, Marie.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for joining me on Communication Corner and sharing your story of being bold. First, let's get it right out of the way. What does B.O.L.D stand for? B-O.L.D.
Brilliantly overcoming life's disappointments.
And so you have been brilliantly overcoming life's disappointments in your life for quite a few years now, yes?
Absolutely.
So you're a poet, an author, you say aspiring, but your book's already written, and you're also a social worker.
Absolutely.
So those are three diametrically opposed things. But in your story, we find that all three come together and weave together into a beautiful book that's bold. So tell me the story of being a social worker and what led you to being bold.
Okay, so I believe my journey started in 2011, I want to say, so to speak. My initial plan was to become an attorney, and unfortunately I flunked the LSATs really bad, and I guess my ego was bruised.
So there's one obstacle right there.
Exactly.
You kind of need a good score.
Exactly. So then I decided to do my second best. It was you always have a plan B, and it was to become a social worker. So I went to grad school, graduated with my master's, and started working in a child welfare agency. Unfortunately, or luckily for me, in 2017, I got injured on the job while I was working with a client. I was meeting with a client, and I had her baby. It was a supervised visit, and she wanted to leave with her child, and I stopped her. And I didn't recognize that we'd have gotten to that point. And once we were able to, once we were able to take the child safely from her hands, I turned my back to ensure everyone got back into the office safely. And the moment I turned my back, she smacked me right in my left temple twice.
Oh my gosh.
And unfortunately, I fell, had a concussion. Wow. Was hospitalized for an extensive period of time. Had my first surgery on July 28, 2017, and then I had another in July of 2018 on my shoulder.
Okay, so far we've you're a social worker.
Absolutely.
Regular day on the job.
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, you couldn't get into law school, so that's the first obstacle.
Exactly.
Then you've got this great career that you've worked for. You've got a master's degree. A lot of hard work goes into that.
Absolutely.
And then getting the job, that's a lot of hard work as well. You're finally in it. You're in the job. You're on the job. You get injured on the job. 2 surgeries later. Then what happened?
So during this time, I fell into depression. I was home. My life changed drastically. I lost my independence. I was in excruciating pain constantly. During this time, it's like I did have the support of my family who was always there, but somehow
very lucky. That's a blessing.
It's absolute blessing in disguise. But throughout that process, I could not really articulate and explain to my family what I was going through internally, and somehow my need for intimacy and companionship just heightened. And how do I do that? I am broken emotionally and physically, and a single woman. So I decided to start writing poetry. I wrote central poetry. At this point, it's like whatever I'm thinking and feeling, I was acting it out on paper because it's safe.
So you channeled all of that onto paper.
Absolutely.
That's very smart.
And during that process of really pouring out my emotions, I would want to say I got into my psychological growth as a woman, because I started exploring myself, like backtrack for a bit. So I'm from Jamaica, and culturally, what we know about sex, if you get pregnant, I'm going to put you out of the house. Basically, that was the nutshell. Yeah, it's the same. Absolutely.
Silence of sex.
Yeah. So it's like I felt like I didn't want to be silenced anymore. And I started exploring my body as a woman, trying to understand who I was as an individual. Because, like I said, because of how I was raised and my norms and my cultural practices, this was not something I had the privilege of doing. I was afraid of even masturbation because I think that it made me felt nasty. It made me felt as if I was doing something wrong.
Right.
But during this process, when I was home, when mom turned the lights off, and it's the darkness and the pain, and I craved for that companionship, but I didn't have it. And everything, my bold appear. I channeled my energy into, I even got introduced to my alter ego, Toya, and just really appreciated who I was as an individual, learning my sexual needs and understanding what clitoral stimulation is like. I didn't understand that. Self-love, and really, exactly, and that's what it was all about.
So you put all of this onto paper.
Absolutely.
And the main character in your book of poetry,
Yes.
titled B.O.L.D, B-O.L.D, the main character, tell me about her, Toya J.
Yeah, so Toya J, it's this fun, free-spirited individual. She is just open. She wants to explore, she wants to understand, and she's going to tell you exactly how she's feeling. And she's very sexual, highly sexual. So Toya is just this woman who, she does not care what anyone has to say. She doesn't think that she should be judged. And she's okay because, I guess, because of all that self-love and really understanding who she is. So this was like an extension of Marie, right? So Marie is the social worker who is well put together, and she doesn't really show emotions, and she's proper, but Toya is the total opposite. Toya is free-spirited, she just wants to go, she gets up and she go. Toya is sexy, Toya wears the red hair, the color, she is just bold. That's who Toya is.
How are you, Marie, and your character, Toya, the same?
That's an interesting question. So we're the same because Marie controls Toya. It's like when you talk about Sigmund Freud, the superego. So basically that's what it is. So Marie is able to control Toya's behaviors because Toya, she just does whatever Toya wants. But Marie's the one that has to pull her in and say, hey, no, there has to be boundaries and you have to maintain self. Because Toya will just be free and just enjoy.
Okay, so good cop, bad cop.
Good cop, bad cop, yes, yes.
So in the book, B.O.L.D, you break it down into 4 parts. So tell us about the first part of the book, B.O.L.D.
So the first part of the book, B.O.L.D, the first chapter, it's entitled Winter Mix. And that's filled with all the emotions I was going through, the depression, feeling isolated, feeling like I can't do this anymore. Just like how you started, I can't, it's just too much, it's overwhelming. So those poems like really speak to my emotions then. And then
that's when you were literally
really
physically
depressed.
broken.
Yes, physically, emotionally broken and mentally drained. This is the weird part about it because like I said, I had my family members. They were always around me, round the clock, doing everything, making sure I was okay. But it's that isolation where I felt so alone, so overwhelmed, like no one understood what I was going through. And I'm not sure even if I tried to articulate it, they would be able to do it. And I guess it's also the extension of being a social worker where you're in denial somewhat and you feel like this is something you have to do and carry on your own because of my independence as well, because that's how I lived my life. I wasn't used to anyone taking care of me. I'm always the one taking care of others. And I guess it goes back to being able to accept and ask for help. I was not there, so I just shut down, I silenced myself.
The social worker needed a social worker.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the first part,
Yes.
the beginnings, the broken.
Yes.
And then we move into the second part, the lust.
Yes.
Tell us
So
about
basically that section is just filled with the sensual aspect of it because like initially I said, I craved intimacy and I craved companionship. I had none of the above. So that's when I really explored my body as an individual to really understand what my needs were. And just like go off, like I said, it's Toya, she's free. Toya wants to understand and Toya wants to explore. So when you even talk about that boundaries of what sex looks like and what you're not supposed to do, and as a woman, what you should feel, how you should think, Toya broke all boundaries because it was safe.
Right.
So it's highly sensual and it's safe because this is me understanding and the self-love I have and understanding who I am as an individual.
Wow, I like that
Yes.
second part.
Yes.
And if you've just joined us, you are watching Communication Corner with me, your host, Gail Lewis. And we're talking to author extraordinaire, overcomer of many obstacles, Marie Dunn, and we're talking about her brand new book, B.O.L.D, B.O.L.D, Brilliantly overcoming life's disappointments. And I'm thinking it's going to make a great Christmas gift. So far, we've talked about part one,
Yes.
you being broken. Part two, you're on the mend,
Yeah.
and you're getting an awakened desire.
Absolutely.
Part three, you're well enough to go out and explore the dating world again.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Okay.
So yeah,
Well,
so
physically well.
physically, yes. So that section is entitled "Confrontation with Reality," because now you're transitioning from the fantasy land. So now, of course, you're home. Like I said, it's total isolation.
Yeah.
You can't go out to like really meet individuals. So therefore, I went to the internet dating site.
Started to swipe left.
Yes, swipe left. Absolutely.
Which
And
I think is,
it's
and
in
that's
our
just
society
how we
today.
meet people.
Exactly. And I was so excited. I really thought I hit the lottery because I found this amazing guy.
Can I digress again just
Sure.
for a moment?
Sure.
What made you think at this point that you were ready to go out and start dating again? Because prior to the accident and everything, you were single, and so now you're back on the mend. So what was the catalyst to start you in the direction of dating, to make you start swiping?
So I think it was just my loneliness, to be honest. Looking back, it's just my loneliness and that need to belong and feel, get that attention that we crave at times. And given the state I was into emotionally.
Bold encounter. He feasted on my crimson velvet body. I indulged in his sensuous delight. He loved the fact that I had those baby-making hips and hedonistic eyes. I seduced him with the overly suggestive gait of my hips. He stripped my scantily clothed body, anxiously laid me on my back, kissed me ravenously, explored the areas of my body. My body shivered with delight as he massaged me playfully with the warmth of his breath. I moaned with satisfaction. He stroked his skin flute with excitement, awakened further immeasurable erotic thirst. He fired his piston into my moisture-filled honeypot. Articulated delightful cries replaced my agonizing supplication. With quickened pace, his depth maximized. I discharged profusely.
You are watching Communication Corner with me, your host, Gail Lewis, and tonight we're discussing Being Bold with author Marie Dunn.
So yeah, I think that was what really drove me to that point.
Okay.
Yes.
So then that point is dating.
Is dating,
And so
yes.
then the poetry in the third part is about a specific dating experience.
Yes.
The third part, you finally got up the courage to go out on a date again.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Oh, so that was pretty interesting. So during this process, being home for such an extended period of time, of course, I don't have the luxury of really going out and interacting, engaging, and meeting people. So of course, the dating app, swipe right, swipe left,
Swipe
right?
left, swipe right.
Absolutely. So I was so excited because I thought I really found my dream guy. I was like, yes, I hit the lottery. So swipe left, swipe right, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I found a dream guy. I thought I hit lottery. We spoke a lot on via phone, texting. We did a lot of that, and finally we decided to meet up. Great guy, tall and handsome, perfect body, perfect, right?
I'm in love.
Exactly. You thought, yes, I got it, yes. But somehow there were warning signs. But because of my need to belong, or I'm getting all the attention finally, I'm like, yes, I'm loving it.
And I'm wondering, just because I think that a lot of people find themselves in this situation. I've heard the story where it's always like, wow, he's great.
Yeah.
What were those warning signs?
So I guess it's that possessiveness. And like, even if we're going out, he would text me, what are you wearing? And then he'll tell me what color he's wearing, and he wanted us to match and all of that stuff. And like, whenever we go out, he'd be like really possessive, like, oh, I'm here with her, she's with me, and all of that. I recognized that, but I was like, you know what? And then even in asking, he was an Army guy. And I'm like, oh, ding, ding, ding. And I'd read, like, you know, and just really understanding and trying to ask questions. He was sort of closed. I couldn't get past that mask. So that was really concerning for me as well. But like I said, I hit the lottery, so it didn't matter to me. And he was tall and sexy, and yeah, I got it. Yeah, the package was perfect. So fast forward now, I recognize, I'm like, you know what, I need to probe more. Like, I started talking to others, and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, you know what, the best thing for you to do is take him out with your friends, and you'll see his true colors, so to speak.
It's always a good test.
Perfect.
Put him around your people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And indeed, that's exactly what happened. I got invited to a party. My girlfriend was having a party. I went to a party with her, and somehow, you know, like it's females, you go out, you dance with each other, you have fun, innocent. And he got so pissed because I was dancing with a female.
Do you think he was angry more so because you were dancing with girls, or because you weren't paying attention to him?
I think it was a mixture of both, not getting the attention, and somehow he probably felt intimidated. Because looking back, he wasn't a confident person when looking back right now, right? And so fast forward, we were at a party, that happened, and then he literally came out of his face and says, oh, so you're a lesbian, so that's what you do? And he got all aggressive. And I was like, okay, interesting. That's it. I go home, deleting your number, and never talking to you again.
Right.
But unfortunately, I rode with him. And that's when the demon came out.
On the drive home?
On the drive home from the party. So the party's over. I decided to tell my friends, listen, I have to go now. I need to get home. So we're walking out. We're all walking out. He goes across the street, just ignore me. We get to the car. He didn't even open the car door for me. Gets in the car. The silence was deafening. And then, bam, he turns his music loud.
Oh boy.
We get on the highway, and he started cursing and calling me a cunt, all the nasty words. And I'm like, wow. So there was an accident on the highway, so the cops and the traffic was backed up to an extent. So instinctively I said to him, you know what, it's fine. Just leave me on the highway, because now I'm like, my radars are going up, and I'm saying to myself, this does not feel like it's gonna end well. And I said to him, just leave me here. And he ignored me and just kept driving. And when we get to the highway, just in the middle of nowhere, he just said, get on my car. Just like that.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. So here you are, you have this black, sexy, attractive woman. I'm all dressed up. Exactly. And and my heels, the stilettos, right? And I'm on the highway, and I'm like, now I'm nervous. I remember I called my girlfriend first, and I was on the phone explaining to her what happened, and then I called Uber, and somehow this man out of nowhere in the middle of the dark is creeping up behind me. And of course, God is always my guardian angel. A cop car shows up. I flagged them down. They stopped. I explained what was going on. They're like, okay, fine, sit in the car until your Uber comes. And so I see the car come, because my anxiety level is so high at this point. I just really wanted to get home.
Of course.
So I saw the car pull up. I swear that was my Uber. So the guy stopped too, went over, and I guess I'm sexy lady on the side of the street. In my party clothes and my high heels. So I went in and I said, okay, fine, is this the Uber for, I gave my name, and I suspected something was off. But by then, the cop had left. But I said, I'm not getting into your car, it's fine. So he drives off, right? He drove off, and I am like, okay, so I am still in the middle of nowhere. There's this, on the side of the street, there's this man behind me, and I'm scared as hell, but I'm not gonna show you that I'm scared. And my phone rings. I answered my phone, and there's this warm woman on the end of the line, and she's like, are you Marie? I'm trying to find you where you are. She stayed on the phone with me, and then she came, I hopped into the car, and drove home safely.
And you put that story in your book. Why?
Yes, because I think it was so important for us to recognize that all that glitters is not gold. And when you're not physically and emotionally and mentally ready for a relationship, it's best to heal yourself first. Because with your quest to want to belong and want to feel, everything is going to seem like it's the perfect situation, when indeed it's not.
Broken attracts broken.
Exactly. So,
Acceptance.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So this is where I have accepted who I am as an individual. I'm walking in my truth. It's my truth. You can't tell me how to feel or how to act or how to respond. And this is really about that self-love and pouring into me as an individual, and not looking to anyone for acceptance, not looking to anyone and thinking what they have to say. Because sometimes you get so caught up in trying to please the audience and please everyone. Exactly. Right? And you just get distracted. So this is where I have said, it's all about me. I'm gonna walk in my authentic truth, and I'm gonna own who I am. My flaws, everything about me, I'm gonna own it. And that's where it's like accept.
How do we get to that point of acceptance?
It's a lot of self-work. It's a lot of sleepless nights and really searching deeper than your soul and understanding who you are. Because change comes when that individual is ready. If you're not, it doesn't matter what happens around you. You're never going to accept who you are as an individual. And I think also because we live in a society that's so driven by presentation and how we present ourselves. And you have to have the perfect body, long hair. You know, you can't embrace who you are. You have to be able to look within yourself and say, this is me. I'm going to love me regardless of my flaws and not seek acceptance from anyone.
And what did you do to get there?
What did I do?
Because you said lots of sleepless nights.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
So it's like really, I did like a lot of reflective work.
Okay.
Like charting, because I'm a visual learner. So I would actually write what I was feeling, chart back into years. And even at this point, I am I'm going to look back on past relationships to really understand what I could have done differently and what worked and how I'm going to employ that into my life.
Okay, so reflection.
It's a lot of reflection.
So reflection on relationships.
Yes.
What else should you
Just reflection on your values and what matters most to you. And really also understanding what your passion is in life. Because if you don't, I think you're doing a disservice to yourself and to others who you're around. And it's really also about being able to look within the relationship within your circles and understand who is there to support you in times of need. And being able to say, I have to cut ties, and being able to say no. That was something very hard for me. I figured I had to say yes to everyone and everything that came across, but I had to be able to put me first and recognizing that if I'm not my best self, I cannot show up and be there for everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Disease to please. So what's your passion?
My passion is helping others. It's that simple. I like to see people smile. I volunteer a lot. I just recently completed in the federal jail, I taught a re-entry program. I facilitated that, and I think it's just amazing and really inspirational as well, because when you really think about that brokenness and that loneliness, and even though, you hear about jail and it's supposed to rehabilitate, but that's not really happening. And being able to go on the inside and offer that support, that moral and emotional support to others, it's just astounding.
I think it's very particular that you just said that people that you visited in prison as part of your volunteer work are isolated and broken.
Absolutely.
And when you're describing your book, in the first chapter, you talk about how you're isolated and broken.
Absolutely.
And you would not think, I wouldn't think that any of us, meaning on the outside of prison, have that much in common with people behind bars. But to just see that kind of commonality coming out through your book and through your story,
interconnected.
That's very powerful.
It's interconnected.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. You could be standing right here and you have 100 people around you, but you could feel so alone because no one knows and understand your journey, your truth, what you're feeling, and even have the time to say, how are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
And be real about it.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years from now, I am hoping to publish at least 3 more books. I want to become a motivational speaker because I think there is so much power in my stories. This is just the icing, so to speak. There is a lot more to come.
This is like the eggs.
Yeah.
We haven't even put the flour in there.
Yes,
yet. No icing.
Absolutely. I think I really have so much to offer. I think it's such an inspiration, being able to accept my scars, because I thought I would need to put tattoos to cover everything up, and being able to own everything that happened. And before, I'd always say to God, why now? Why me? But now I'm asking, why not me? Because I've also recognized, and I guess because of my spiritual faith, I have come to recognize that it's not about my timing. I could always set my goals and my deadlines.
We can make lists,
but it's really about God. Yeah. It's really about God. His timing is everything.
Absolutely.
And that's the absolute thing.
So, after you were injured on the job, what was it like going back to that job, to that workplace?
So I go back to work. I'm excited because this is something I thought about for an extended period of time. Having this conversation with my family was really difficult because they want to protect me, they want to shelter me. They
They've
didn't think
seen you broken.
Yeah,
And
so
they don't want that to happen
absolutely.
again.
But because of the God in me and because of my faith and because I know I'm here to help, I'm a very special person.
Indeed.
I have my task that God has designed for me that I need to fulfill.
Right.
And I think I'm not obedient enough. That's why I keep having these obstacles. Yeah, I have those conversations
It's a
with God.
different show.
It's a whole different, yeah. But I think it was just my need to go back to that place, that very place where it happened. Because for me, I think you have to experience that which you fear in order to overcome that fear. So in order I had to get back there, and I guess it's just a part of my job. Unfortunately, this happened to me, but I had to go on. Life continued. I was not allowed this to stop me,
Right.
because it's gonna happen. Like any given day, a number can play. You don't know.
Right.
So it's just all about perseverance and trusting the process.
Did your family, your close friends, try and dissuade you from going back to social work? Maybe you should find a different
Absolutely.
occupation.
Absolutely. Because it's like when you see a loved one hurt the way I did, and the pain continues. I'll never be the same individual again. I still go to physical therapy. It's so much process that goes into it. And even talking about the psychological piece, because I do go to therapy as well, because that's so important. Haven't really had the time because, again, life happens, but that's really a big part of it. And the love that they have for you. And then sometimes people think they know what's best for you, but only you know what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you did it.
So I did it.
What advice would you give to someone who's facing a similar situation? So they're going back to something after a tremendous obstacle or a tremendous blow.
So you have to be honest with self, number one. You really have to be honest with self about what is it that you could tolerate. And it's also about forgiving that individual that created that injury. Because if I didn't get to that point, because I was so angry for such a long time, that I really missed pivotal parts of my life that I could have lived. But because I was so caught up with all those emotions. But once I was able to say to myself, it was not this individual who hurt me, it was not the individual, that was the mental health piece. And that's a whole different conversation again. So being able to separate the intentions from how I experienced it. And that's it, it's that simple. You have to be able to forgive.
Yes. And to overcome
And
the
be able to-
obstacle.
exactly.
And you've got to face that obstacle.
Absolutely.
You got to go back.
Exactly.
Got to get back on the horse.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to follow you and who want to purchase B.O.L.D.
Okay.
Where can we follow you?
So I could be followed. My poetry page is B.O.L.D Toya, and then my regular page where it talks about everything, my life in general, it's DTM_SW.
What does DTM stand for?
So that's private. My brother was the one who gave me that name, so I'm not going to get into the DTM part of it, but when you think about it, it could be turned around. It's Marie Dunn, that's my name,
okay.
and the SW is for social worker.
All right.
Yeah.
If you weren't a social worker, what would you be?
If I wasn't a social worker, my dream, I would be an attorney.
Okay.
Absolutely, an attorney.
Helping people.
Helping people.
Once again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In a different capacity.
And Toya probably would be a dancer.
How
Yes,
did you
but
come up with that character name?
Toya, I really don't remember how I gave her that name, but I just loved Toya. It just sounds fun and sexy.
And lastly, how does Toya look?
Oh, Toya she has the
character in
curves.
your book.
Yeah, she has the curves. She's tall, nice ass, boobs, and the perfect smile.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Kind of like yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Marie Dunn. Her book would make a great Christmas gift. It's coming out this summer. Look for it. Her book, B.O.L.D, B-O.L.D, Brilliantly Overcoming Life's Disappointments. You can follow her at
B.O.L.D Toya,
or
DTM_SW.
all right. This has been another exciting episode of Communication Corner. With me, your host, Gail Lewis. Joining me on set tonight was Marie Dunn, and she's the author of a brand new book of poetry, B.O.L.D, Brilliantly Overcoming Life's Disappointments, available this summer. So, Thank you so much for joining us here on Communication Corner. As always, you can always hit me up on my website, gail-lewis.com, or email me, newday2010@yahoo.com. For everyone here at Communication Corner, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again real soon. Good night, everyone.